No. Hold on, Gabrielle. Again, let me jump in here, and we're going to have to wrap this interview. But again, Newsmax certainly does not believe that the election was rigged.
Ooh, a little intense. Okay, so last week, Newsmax 2 host Todd Starnes freaked out and abruptly ended an interview with independent journalist Gabrielle Cuccia when she claimed that the 2020 election was stolen from Donald Trump. And we'll explain why he was so panicked in a second. But first, let's give you some context. The segment was on Meta's admission that they censored COVID-related content at the request of the Biden administration. Cuccia claimed that Meta also censored information about the 2020 election, which she believes Trump won. So let's watch her lie about the election so much that Starnes had to literally kick her off of the interview.
So you don't believe that Mr. Zuckerberg is doing this out of the goodness of his heart?
No, I do not. I think with all this momentum, you see a lot of people trying to get their ducks in a row so that they won't be they'll be spared once President Trump enters the Oval Office, as he should be rightly and duly elected, as he was back in the last election. That there's Meta's role in all of this, but there's also the government's role, right? And this Biden administration is not. They're very guilty. And so when you look at it, elections need an overhaul. When it
what
comes
are they
to
guilty of? What are they guilty of?
Well, they're guilty of exactly what Zuckerberg had penned, saying that they received pressure in suppressing particular stories of information, like we talk about the Biden laptop, like we talk about election misinformation. I mean, talk about the fact that right now, with the backing of the US government, right? They are still pursuing defamation lawsuits against whistleblowers. Primaries, the last primaries in Puerto Rico, and
well, let me jump in here. No. Hold on, Gabrielle. Again, let me jump in here, and we're going to have to wrap this interview. But again, Newsmax certainly does not believe that the election was rigged, and we just have to. We just cannot go down that path. But I certainly appreciate you joining. Yep.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you very much for joining us.
So after she was off the air, Starnes then stated again, just to be totally clear, that Newsmax does not believe the election was stolen. And he had to be so clear because the network is being sued by both Dominion Voting Systems and Smartmatic for defamation related to claims surrounding the 2020 presidential election. Now, you'll remember that Fox News settled a similar case with Dominion for almost $800 million. But what I got from this segment was basically that even though Fox News lost that lawsuit, and even though Newsmax is still dealing with it, the damage has already been done, not just to Dominion and Smartmatic as companies, but to the country, right? Todd Starnes can say all he wants that Newsmax does not believe the election was rigged, but his audience has already been convinced that it was. And people like this independent journalist, Cuccia, can and will continue propagating that idea among her own audience because she's not the one being sued. So Mark, we'll start with you this time. Will there ever be an end to this, or is this just the world that we live in now?
This is, as you suggested, baked into most of the people who are going to show up on Newsmax, and it's really the new GOP. I mean, it's kind of like what you have to pledge allegiance to. And just as they've wrapped their arms around Trump, they've wrapped around the obsession with the last election. And so, surprise, even though these are hundreds of $1 million of judgments, they won't change the body politic that's associated with the GOP. And a lot of the GOP, I'm sure on some level, they pledge allegiance in a sort of rote way. They don't really believe it in their hearts. But you find someone like this, these passionate, independent reporters, and I'm sure she buys it. I mean, she seems to rep it in a pretty fervently, and pretty enthusiastically. So I think it's just baked into where the right is now. It's yet one more lie that they have to tell. And so they reflexively tell it, although there's a breadth of believing it and then just knowing that it's something you have to say.
Yeah. I also like the way she was like, whenever he was like, oh, I have to break, Newsmax does not believe that. And she's like, oh yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, I know right, exactly. They got the memo on that too. Right.
Yeah, Cenk, what do you think?
First, I'm going to start with something unacceptable. I think it was Concord and Lexington. I remember reading it when I was a kid in high school civics class, where they had that statement, don't shoot until you see the white of their eyes. Well, Todd Starnes is safe. I've never seen someone who has less eyeball like square footage in my life. Man, those lids were close to one another. Okay, that's me saying things that are unacceptable. How he looks is totally irrelevant. I live in a glass house. All those fun caveats. Now, onto the substance. No, in seriousness, I love the panic, because the reason I love it is because they thought, these right-wing networks thought they were above the law and there was no consequences for lying. That they could just go out there and just be like, oh yeah, Donald Trump won the election. Oh, I think a bunch of mules stole it. Yeah, that's the ticket. And then a Kraken came in, yeah. And then the Hugo Chavez's ghost. Yeah, that's what happened. He stole the election. And they got about 100 million Americans to believe it. They did massive damage to this country. Because guys, it's so hard for you to understand if you don't have their mindset. They're not getting the same information as you. They got information from Fox News, Newsmax, etc. And the information they got and that they believed was that Donald Trump had actually won the election. Why do you think that some people that were like, you got the militia guys, that's a different story. But there were real Americans, average Americans that bum rushed the Capitol and attacked cops and broke into the Capitol and did all these crazy things because in their heads, Trump had actually won the election. They actually believe that. It's not a talking point for them. And so they were like, oh my God, they felt like, imagine if Trump had stolen it from Biden, how mad you would be. And why did they believe that and take those actions? Because they were lied to by these media organizations. So then Dominion and Smartmatic sued the crap out of them and proved that they were right. That's what we have a court system for, a justice system for. And they went in and then Fox had to pay over $800 million. And now that's why Newsmax is like, no, wait. No, the election was fair. Don't sue us. We'll stop lying about that one issue. Oh, okay. Well, thanks, we really appreciate it. But you can tell from the panic that they were lying all along and they don't want to pay a couple $100 million because of it. If they were right, truth is a defense. It's an absolute defense in these type of defamation cases. So you know they've been lying to you the entire time.
The one thing I would say, Cenk, just to put a button on that, because I'd sign on to everything that Cenk just said, is there's real damage to Smartmatic and Dominion voting systems. That's why they got those kinds of huge damage checks at the end of it all. In other words, there were judgments in the hundreds of millions for a reason. When you look at Dominion voting systems and you look at their role in the coming election, is there a stink on them now? Because just a reputational problem that they have. So that's a real damage that was done. This is out of the Trump lie, which is the election was stolen. They switched it in a computer. He's making that stuff up. But the real world ramifications, as Cenk has just said, sent people to the Capitol, created a whole disinformation machine, and really ruined the reputations of these two companies that by at least the court's yardstick were really solid.
Yeah, I mean, that's why they set the penalties as high as they did, because they wanted to set the precedent. They wanted to say you can't lie about something so major and get away with it because there's reputations at stake. And you're damaging minds, the minds of Americans. And it's like what Cenk was saying, we're not going to come back from this. These people are going to go to their graves believing that this election was stolen. And I don't want to, get too far off topic, but I will say the 2020 election was a little problematic, but the Democrats, we just said, what, it's fine, move on.
I do want to note the funny irony of us showing BR Russians sidebar while we're doing an election story. So that's our reference today to the right-wing hosts apparently getting 100,000 a pop from videos they're doing for the Russians. And so we're asking you guys to be our Russians, so we serve you instead of some corporation or foreign government. So if you can, tyt.com/team. But when we do it in the middle of an election story, it sounds like we wanted you to interfere in elections on our behalf. We don't want that. Not that kind of Russian.
Thank you for clarifying. We have fun over here at TYT. That's what we do.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.